Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine you're walking into a massive, ancient library.
Right.
You're looking for something, philosophical, maybe a little metaphysical. You pull a book off a dusty shelf. It looks like a standard religious text, or maybe, I don't know, a book of ethics.
Yeah.
But then you crack it open, and the author isn't just offering you some nice platitudes about being a good neighbor or finding inner peace.
No.
They're looking you dead in the eye and claiming to hand you the literal schematics of the universe. I'm talking about the physics of time, the biological mechanics of God, and a methodology to, and I'm quoting the source text here, burn your karma to ashes.
It is a bold opening, to say the least. It's certainly not a modest proposal.
Bold is an understatement.
Okay.
It's radical. Today, we're doing a serious, no-holds-barred deep dive into Chapter 4 of the Bhagavad-gītā as it is.
The chapter on transcendental knowledge.
Yeah.
Exactly, transcendental knowledge, or in Sanskrit, Divyagayan. And I have to admit, when I first looked at the outline for this deep dive, I thought, okay, transcendental knowledge, we're going to talk about being peaceful, maybe some meditation tips.
That would be the expected path.
But that is not what this text is doing. This text is trying to fundamentally rewire your understanding of history, the nature of action, and the very concept of authority.
It really is. And I think the mission of this specific deep dive is to parse exactly what Divyagayan implies. The source material argues that this isn't just book smarts or, academic trivia.
Right.
It's pitched as a specific type of scientific knowledge, almost a technology that allows a person to escape the mechanics of the material world. It claims that if you have this knowledge, the laws of physics, specifically the laws of karma, stop applying to you in the same way.
A technology that burns karma to ashes. That is the hook for me. Because if there's a way to delete the baggage of the past, I want to know about it. Exactly. We have a lot of ground to cover to understand how that works. We're going to look at the impossible timeline that text presents, which challenges modern history by millions of years.
Millions.
We're going to break down the specific mechanics of how an avatar functions, biologically and physically, according to the purports. And we're going to tackle what is arguably the hardest concept in the entire book.
The paradox of action in inaction.
That's the one.
And just to set the ground rules for you, the listener, because this is a deep dive, we are sticking strictly to the Bhagavad-gītā as it is.
That's right.
We're using the translations and the purports. Those are the commentaries provided in that specific text. We aren't bringing in outside opinions, modern secular interpretations, or other yoga schools. We're reporting impartially on what this specific document claims to be true.
Right. We're decoding the text on its own terms. We're looking at the internal logic of the Bhagavad-gītā.
So let's start with the history. Because Chapter 4 doesn't start with a philosophical maxim. It starts with a math problem that completely blew my mind.
You're talking about the solar lineage.
I am. The chapter opens with Kṛṣṇa, the speaker, telling Arjuna that this system of yoga isn't new. He says, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivasvan. Then Vivasvan taught it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu taught it to Ikavaku.
Right, and context is vital here to understand why this is such a shock. In the setting of the book, Kṛṣṇa is standing right in front of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
They're contemporaries.
They're cousins, they've, hung out together, eaten together. So for Kṛṣṇa to casually mention he taught this to the sun god is jarring.
Totally.
It throws the timeline into absolute chaos for Arjuna.
It's like your college roommate suddenly telling you he taught the Magna Carta to King John. It just doesn't compute.
Right.
But the text doesn't just leave it vague. It gives us the numbers to calculate the date. I actually went through the purport where the commentators break down the yugas or cosmic ages. It says this knowledge was spoken to the sun god at least 120,400,000 years ago.
That is the specific calculation provided. It derives from the lifespan of Manu and the duration of the Treta Yuga.
120 million years. And it says the knowledge has been extant in human society specifically for 2 million years.
It challenges the modern view of anthropological history right out of the gate. We usually think of human civilization as being, 5,000 to 10,000 years old in terms of high culture.
If that.
The text is establishing that what is being taught is aparuya. It's not human-made. It's not a philosophy invented by some guy in a cave 500 years ago or even 5,000 years ago.
No.
It's presented as the eternal operating system of the universe.
And what's fascinating here is who the recipient was. You mentioned Vivasvan, the sun god. Now, in modern science, the sun is a ball of hydrogen and helium, fusing atoms to create heat. That's it.
A giant nuclear reactor in the sky.
But the text treats the sun very differently.
It does. In this cosmology, the sun is described as the king of all planets. The sun god isn't just a mythological figure or a star. He's viewed as an executive head of state.
An executive.
The purport actually uses that specific language, executive heads. The argument is that the sun controls the heat, light, and seasons for the entire universe. It's a management position. And therefore, the person in charge of that station requires this specific knowledge to rule effectively.
So it's a leadership manual. It's not just for, like, yogis in caves.
In a sense, yes. This lineage Kṛṣṇa to sun god to Manu to Ikavaku is a line of kings. They call them Rajarshi, or saintly kings.
Saintly kings.
The source material makes a very specific argument here. It says that the royal order, the people with political and administrative power, are the ones who need this science the most.
Why them? I would have assumed monks, hermits, or people retreating from society would be the target audience for transcendental knowledge. Why do the politicians need it?
The text flips that assumption. It says the kings need it because they have to rule the citizens. The purport explicitly states that the executive heads are obliged to protect the citizens from material bondage to lust.
The argument is that if the leader doesn't understand the science of God and the spirit, if they are just secular administrators, they can't actually protect the people.
They can give them roads and stuff.
Right. They can only provide material comfort, roads, and an economy, but they can't save the society from spiritual degradation. Without this knowledge, the text argues, the whole society falls into chaos.
That is a heavy burden to place on a leader. Not just to keep the economy stable, but protect the citizens from lust.
It's a different paradigm of leadership,
Yeah.
and that leads us to the concept of the broken chain. Because Kṛṣṇa tells Arjuna, this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession. But in course of time, the succession was broken.
Parampara, that's the Sanskrit term for this chain.
Yeah, parampara. It's a method of transmission. Master to disciple, repeat. It's supposed to be like a bucket brigade putting on a fire. You pass the bucket without spilling a drop.
Okay.
The integrity of the message relies on the fidelity of the transmission.
But the text gets pretty spicy about why the bucket spilled. It doesn't just say people forgot because it was a long time ago.
Not at all.
It blames unscrupulous commentators.
It does. The purport uses very strong language here. It refers to people who interpret the text according to their own whims as demonic. It says that as soon as the original purpose was scattered by people with personal motives, people wanting to use the text to prove their own theories, the knowledge was effectively lost.
It's like a game of telephone, but malicious.
That's a great way to put it.
Someone intentionally changes the message to suit their agenda.
Exactly. And according to the text, once that connection to the original source is severed, the words might still be there, but the potency is gone. The science stops working. You might be reading the book, but if you aren't plugged into the understanding of the original speaker, you're just reading words.
So Kṛṣṇa has to come back and hit the reset button. He has to reestablish the line.
He does.
But here's the part I found really touching. Amidst all this talk of millions of years and solar deities, he chooses Arjuna. And the text lists the qualifications for why Arjuna gets to hear this 120 million year old secret.
Right.
It's not because Arjuna has a PhD in theology. It's not because he's the most austere meditator. It's because you are my devotee as well as my friend.
That is a crucial distinction in this text, and it sets the tone for the entire methodology of learning in the Gita. It posits that there is a mystery to this knowledge that is inaccessible to intellect alone. The purport claims that demons, meaning those who are envious or purely academic in their approach, cannot understand this mystery. You can have a massive brain, you can be a great scholar, but if you don't have that relational aspect, that devotion, the text claims the real meaning will remain encrypted.
It's the difference between studying a person's biography and actually being their friend.
Yes, that's it.
You can know all the facts about someone, where
Yeah.
they were born, what they ate, what they did. But if you aren't their friend, you don't know them. You don't know their heart.
Precisely. And that friendship allows Arjuna to ask the question that the listener or the reader needs answered. We touched on this, but it's the pivot point of the chapter.
Right.
Arjuna asks, wait, Vivasvan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him?
Which is the polite, saintly king way of saying, dude, you're my age. The sun god is ancient. What are you talking about?
Essentially. And this leads us into segment 2 of our deep dive, the nature of the avatar. Kṛṣṇa's answer establishes the fundamental difference between the Lord and the living entity in this worldview.
What does he say?
He says, many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot.
So the distinction isn't that one reincarnates and the other doesn't. Both pass through births. The distinction is the database, the memory.
It's the continuity of consciousness. The text says the living entity, you and me, forgets everything due to the change of body. The biological hard drive is wiped every time we die and take a new birth.
Right.
I mean, try to remember what you were doing exactly at this time 3 weeks ago, let alone 3 lifetimes ago. We are trapped in the present moment because of our limited memory.
So?
But the source claims the Lord's body does not change in that way. He appears, but he remembers everything, past, present, and future.
Let's unpack the physics of the avatar here, because the text gets into the biology, or maybe anti-biology of God. It says, he appears by his own internal energy, poteti.
Right. The claim is that his body does not deteriorate. The purport points out something fascinating. At the time of the Battle of Kurukshetra, where this conversation is taking place, Kṛṣṇa is biologically a grandfather.
A grandfather.
He has grown children and grandchildren. He's technically an old man by human standards. But the text says he looks like a youth of 20 or 25. He never ages beyond youth.
He's physically frozen in time. That is a wild detail.
It implies that his body is not made of the same material stuff as ours. Our bodies are machines that wear out.
Right.
His body is described as transcendental. But the text uses a different analogy to explain his arrival, one that helps clear up the confusion about him being born. It uses the analogy of the sun.
The sun again. It keeps coming back.
Yes. The purport explains that when the sun rises and sets, it's not being born or dying, it's just moving in and out of our vision.
Okay.
The sun is always there in the sky. When it goes below the horizon, we say the sun has set, but the sun hasn't changed. Our perspective has changed.
That's a helpful visual. So when Kṛṣṇa appears, he's just coming over the horizon of our perception, and when he disappears, he's setting. But he still exists elsewhere.
Exactly.
It's a perspective shift, not an existential one.
Exactly. He isn't forced into a body by karma like we are. He chooses to manifest. And this leads to the famous mission statement versus, you've probably heard this quoted even outside of this text.
Oh, yeah?
Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time, I descend myself.
It's the Batman signal.
It really is the classic superhero trope, but on a cosmic scale. However, the source text gives 3 very specific reasons for this descent. It's not just random.
Okay, what are they?
1, deliver the pious, the sadhu. 2, annihilate the miscreants. 3, reestablish the principles of religion.
Okay, I want to drill down on annihilate the miscreants, because that's
violent.
It sounds violent. It sounds like an Old Testament wrath scenario.
It does sound severe, but the expert analysis in the purport adds a very nuanced layer to this. It says the Lord doesn't need to come down personally to kill demons.
He doesn't need to.
No, he has agents for that. He has material nature, he has gravity, he has time, he has powerful forces. If God wanted to wipe someone out, he wouldn't need to manifest a form to do it. He could just stop their heart or, I don't know, drop a mountain on them.
So why come down personally? If you have agents to do the dirty work, why show up on the battlefield?
To appease the devotees. The purport says the prime purpose is to satisfy his unalloyed devotees who are anxious to see him. The killing of the miscreants is almost a side effect, or a secondary necessity. The main event is the interaction with the people who love him.
So it's personal.
Very. He comes to participate in their lives, to glorify them, and to be glorified by them.
That shifts the perspective quite a bit. It's a rescue mission, but a relational one. He's coming to hang out with his friends, and if some bad guys get in the way, they get dealt with.
And it connects back to that idea of the broken chain. He comes back to fix the understanding, to retune the radio frequency so people can hear the message clearly again.
Right.
He reestablishes the principles of religion because they've been corrupted by those unscrupulous commentators we talked about.
Speaking of corrupted understanding, we need to tune into one of the most confusing parts of this chapter. We've done the history, we've done the theology of the avatar, now we get to the physics of behavior. Segment 3, the intricacies of action, or karma.
Oh yes, this is where the philosophy gets dense. This is where we move from history and theology into the mechanics of how the universe tracks behavior.
It starts with a social structure. The text says Kṛṣṇa created the 4 divisions of society: intellectuals, administrators, merchants, laborers.
In Sanskrit, the Chatur Varna.
And we have to be very precise here because the purport is very defensive about this. It emphasizes that this system is based on good, quality, and karma, work, not birth.
Crucially not birth.
Right, it explicitly says it's not the modern caste system where you are born into a role and stuck there. It's a classification of natural aptitude. Like some people are naturally inclined to study, some are naturally inclined to business. The text says God created these categories as a natural ordering of society.
Correct. But then immediately after taking credit for creating the system, Kṛṣṇa says something paradoxical. He says, although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer.
The non-doer? How can you create an entire social structure and not be the doer? That feels like saying, I built this house, but I had nothing to do with it.
The purport uses the analogy of a business proprietor. The owner establishes the factory, sets the rules, hires the workers.
Okay.
But if a worker messes up, or if a worker does a great job and gets a bonus, the owner isn't personally responsible for those individual actions. The owner is aloof.
He's detached.
He sets the stage, but the actors play the parts.
Okay, I can see that. He built the sandbox,
Right.
but he's not responsible for the sand castles or the sand fights the kids get into.
Correct. He is not entangled in the results, and this concept of entanglement is the key to the next riddle, which is arguably the most famous paradox in the chapter.
The big one.
One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent.
I had to read that 5 times. It sounds like a Zen koan designed to make you give up and just stare at a wall.
It's meant to stop your mind, yes. But let's decode it using the definitions in the purport. It's actually a very precise formula.
Please break it down.
Let's start with inaction in action.
Okay.
This refers to someone who appears to be doing nothing. Maybe they are sitting in meditation, or they've renounced the world and are living in a cave. Physically, they are inactive.
Okay, the yogi in the cave, I've got the picture.
But if their mind is racing with thoughts of sense gratification, if they are thinking about pizza or fame or revenge, or if they are doing this penance just to get magical powers, they are actually generating karma.
So they're not really inactive.
They are binding themselves.
Yeah.
So spiritually, they are performing action. They are creating consequences despite looking like they are doing nothing. Their body is still, but the karmic meter is running.
Okay, I think I get that. So it's the other side. Action in action.
Now flip it. Action in inaction. This refers to someone who is acting perfectly in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. To the naked eye, they are working hard, they might be fighting a battle, cooking food, running a Fortune 500 company.
But they're moving. They're doing stuff.
They are sweating, moving, doing. But because they are doing it with zero attachment to the result, offering the fruit entirely to the Supreme, the text says they incur no karmic reaction. None. It is called a karma. Spiritually, it is as if they did nothing. They leave no footprint.
So it looks like action, but spiritually it's inaction.
Yes. It's the difference between a soldier killing someone in a war under orders and a guy killing someone in a bar fight.
Right.
The physical act, pulling the trigger, is the same. But the soldier isn't charged with murder because he's acting for the state. He is an instrument. The guy in the bar is acting for his own ego, so he bears the reaction.
That is sneaky. But also incredibly liberating. It changes the definition of freedom.
It's about the internal state, not the external movement.
Yeah.
The purport gives this vivid image of a liberated worker. It says they act like a part of a machine.
I marked that part. The part moves not on its own, but by the will of the whole machine.
Right. Think of a piston in an engine. The piston doesn't decide, I think I'll go up now because I feel like it.
No, it just moves.
It moves because the engine moves. The text argues that a person in the state of knowledge has no sense of proprietorship. They don't think, this is my house, my job, my success. They think, I am an instrument.
And the psychological benefit claimed here is wild. It says such a person is steady in both success and failure. They are free from duality.
Because if you aren't the doer, you aren't the winner or the loser. You're just doing the duty. It removes the ego from the equation, which, according to the text, removes the suffering. If the project fails, you don't crash because you did your part perfectly. The result was up to the machine.
It sounds incredibly freeing, but also incredibly difficult. To work without wanting the gain feels contrary to everything we're taught in modern society.
Oh, completely.
We are wired for the dopamine hit of the reward.
Mm-hmm.
We work for the weekend, we work for the bonus.
It is contrary. The text acknowledges that. It says, men in this world desire success and fruit of activities. We want the paycheck, the recognition. The text calls that fruit of work. But it argues that those results are temporary. The deep dive proposition here is that there is a higher way to work that merges entirely into transcendence. It claims you can live in the world without being of the world.
And that merging into transcendence leads us to the topic of sacrifice, or yajna.
Yes.
Now, when I hear sacrifice, I think of, throwing grain into a fire, or, well, hopefully nothing more gruesome than that. But segment 4 shows us that the Gita has a much broader definition of sacrifice.
It redefines the word completely. It broadens it from ritual to lifestyle. The text lists various types of yogis and what they sacrifice. It's not just about a fire pit.
Yeah, I have the list here. Some sacrifice material possessions, that's charity, they give away their wealth, that's a sacrifice.
A pretty straightforward one.
Some sacrifice their senses, like hearing only spiritual topics.
That's the brahmachari, or student life sacrificing the urge to hear gossip or secular talk, focusing the ear only on knowledge.
And then there are the breath controllers. They're priyama practitioners. This gets technical.
Very technical.
The text describes them sacrificing the outgoing breath into the incoming breath, and vice versa. Offering the outgoing breath into itself. It's poetic, but what is it actually describing?
It's biohacking. They are manipulating the prana, life air, and a downward air to bring the bodily functions to a complete standstill.
A standstill.
The goal is to stop the breathing mechanics so the mind becomes completely still. It's high-level yoga, meant to suspend the biological processes to focus entirely on the spirit.
Wow. Okay, but what is the point of all these different methods? You have the charity guy, the steadying guy, the breathing guy. Why are there so many options?
The common denominator, the text says, is controlling the senses.
Ah.
Whether you are giving away money, holding your breath, or studying philosophy, the goal is to stop being controlled by your impulses. It's about mastering the animal nature. You are voluntarily accepting some difficulty to advance spiritually.
But there's a hierarchy, isn't there? The text isn't saying all sacrifices are equal.
No, it's not.
It explicitly says, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions.
Yes. This is a key aha moment in the chapter. You can perform a ritual perfectly. You can give $1 million to charity, but if you do it without understanding the spiritual science behind it...
So without the why.
Right. If you do it just to be a good person or get good karma, the text argues it's merely material. It gets you good karma, maybe a better future life, but it doesn't get you out.
Out of the matrix.
Right. The text says, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. Knowledge is the goal. The ritual is just the vehicle. If you stay in the vehicle and never get out at the destination, you've missed the point. You've just performed a lot of elaborate gymnastics.
So if knowledge is the destination, how do we get it? This brings us to segment 5, the method. And the text is very specific about how you can't get it.
It is. It explicitly rejects independent speculation. You can't just sit in your room, read a bunch of books, and think your way to this truth.
We can't Google it.
You cannot. The verse is famous. Tadvidi partaitana pariprashana sevaya.
Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master.
And it gives a formula for that interaction. Submission, service, and inquiry.
It's a reciprocal relationship.
It is. The purport explains that blind following is condemned. You shouldn't just be a sheep. But absurd inquiries are also condemned.
So no gotcha questions.
Exactly. You have to approach with a genuine desire to learn. And this is the hard part for the modern ego. You have to render service. You have to be willing to be a menial servant to the teacher.
Why is service so important? Why can't I just, pay tuition? Why do I have to wash the dishes or carry the firewood?
Because, according to the text, this knowledge isn't data transfer. It's not like downloading a file. It's a revelation. The purport says the self-realized souls have seen the truth. They aren't guessing.
And they've seen it.
And to get them to share that vision, you have to please them through service. It unlocks the heart of the teacher. It's an emotional transaction as much as an intellectual one. The text implies that the knowledge is dispensed only when the teacher sees the student is humble enough to receive it.
And once you get that knowledge, the metaphors the text uses to describe its power are incredibly evocative.
Yeah.
You mentioned the boat.
Yes, even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners. I love that line.
It's so inclusive.
It doesn't matter how much baggage you have. It doesn't matter if you've made every mistake in the book. When you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries.
It's a message of extreme hope. It implies that sin isn't a permanent stain. It's actually a form of ignorance. If you fix the ignorance with knowledge, the sin is neutralized.
Exactly. And then the fire metaphor takes it even further. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities.
This goes back to our intro, burning karma. The source explains that we have reactions from past lives, reactions that are currently fructifying, and reactions waiting in seed form. A massive stockpile of consequences.
A cosmic debt.
And the claim is that this specific knowledge understanding the self and the supreme burns the whole stock. It wipes the slate clean.
It's the ultimate reset. It's not just solving today's problems, it's dissolving the root of the problem.
That's the get-out-of-jail-free card. But there's a warning label on the bottle. We can't ignore the end of the chapter.
The fate of the faithless.
Yeah, text 40. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down.
And it says, for the doubting soul there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. This is where the text draws a hard line. It values inquiry. We just talked about asking questions, but it condemns cynical doubt.
What's the difference? Because to me, asking a question implies some doubt.
Inquiry wants an answer. Inquiry assumes there is a truth to be found. Doubt, in the context of this text, refers to a stubborn refusal to accept authority or a cynical deconstruction. The text argues that if you are constantly deconstructing and doubting the authority of the scripture, you enter a state of psychological anxiety. You can't be happy because you have no anchor.
You're just adrift.
Constantly adrift.
It's like being lost at sea without a compass because you don't trust compasses.
That's a perfect way to put it. The purport says these people make no progress at all. They are stuck in their own suspicion. So the text warns against that mindset. It encourages open-minded inquiry, but discourages the closed-minded doubt that prevents learning.
So we've covered the history of the universe, the physics of the avatar, the mechanics of karma, the hierarchy of sacrifice, and the method of the guru. The chapter ends with a command.
It does.
A call to action.
After all this high philosophy, Kṛṣṇa brings it back to the battlefield. He tells Arjuna to slash the doubts in his heart with the weapon of knowledge.
Armed with yoga, Obharta, stand and fight.
It's dynamic. It's not armed with yoga, go sit in a cave. It's stand and fight.
Correct.
The ultimate conclusion of chapter 4 is that transcendental knowledge isn't meant to make you passive. It's meant to make you effective. You fight, you work, you live, but you do it with a completely different consciousness, armed with the understanding of who you are and who the Supreme is.
So, to synthesize this deep dive, we started with a lineage that goes back to the sun god, implying a universal government that we've lost touch with.
A broken chain.
We thought how the chain of knowledge broke and had to be restored by an avatar who acts outside the laws of biological aging. We learned the secret of the liberated worker, that you can work furiously like a machine part, but if your consciousness is right, be spiritually inactive and free from karma.
And we learned that all sacrifice, whether breathing, giving money, or studying, is meant to lead to knowledge, and that knowledge is acquired not by independent guessing, but by serving a teacher who has seen the truth.
And finally, that this knowledge is a fire that burns up the baggage of millions of lifetimes. It's a comprehensive worldview. It connects the cosmos to the individual soul.
It really demands that the reader step out of their small, temporary identity and see the big picture of the universe. It asks you to view your life not as a solo struggle, but as a small part of a massive, ancient, and divine machine.
Here's a thought I want to leave you with, listener. We talked about the non-doer, the idea that we are responsible for our acts only until we surrender the results.
Right, the piston in the engine.
If that's true, if the source is right, how does that change your Monday morning? If you walked into your job or your classroom or your chaotic kitchen and truly believed, I am not the doer, I am just the instrument, the result isn't mine to claim or to worry about, would that make you lazy? Or would it actually make you the most focused person in the room because the paralyzing anxiety of what if I fail is gone?
That is the ultimate question of the Karma Yoga presented here. Is surrender the ultimate freedom?
Something to mull over. That's our deep dive into chapter 4. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.